It's Wednesday Whine with Ana Belaval, kicking it off with the wine in hand, because that's the kind of week that I have had. I know I complain a lot about Wednesdays, and that is why we started this conversation on Wednesdays live from Chicago, because Wednesdays are my hardest day. It's kind of like stuck in the middle. My life gets usually complicated on Wednesdays, and I like to vent with you guys on a Wednesday afternoon. You push me forward. You help me get through the week to get to the weekend. And with a little wine, everything tastes better and life is a little more tolerable. Everything in moderation, like my dad says. All right. So I want to dedicate this episode, even though she would probably be mortified, to my aunt Kambu, who passed away suddenly on Sunday, who was my godmother and one of the most important people in my life. She passed away at age 85, and she was ready, but we were not. And I was looking for some pictures because my friend who joins me today is part of my family too. And Tata, what we called her, was in every picture of every important moment in my life. And so I just wish I could have had one more visit with her. I was telling my coworkers that when you live far away from your family, you mourn in a very weird way because you learn to just work through it, to compartmentalize, right? So, but this has hit us really hard. And I'm thinking about my cousins, Vanessa and Desiree, and my mother, who has lost much more than a sister-in-law. She's lost a best friend and a sister. And I've lost one of my guiding lights too. So this is for her. And she would probably be mortified because she loved me the way I was and how real I was. But she was a lady. And of course, she died at 85, which means that when I was born, she was on the older side. And you didn't talk about periods. You didn't talk about menopause. There are a lot of taboo subjects in my family that you didn't talk about, especially related to women. And along came I, who have been a loudmouth my entire life and who tries to normalize all these topics. So, Tata, forgive me wherever you are, but appreciate that it's 2021 and we're going to break the silence and break the cycle. And so today I want to talk about menopause. And if you're watching, guys, don't turn it off, because if you love a woman who's in her midlife, you're going to want to know what's going on with her. And what's going on with her is dramatic. It's hard. It has at least 34 symptoms, and it's the route that they put women through to stop their periods. Menopause. You pause the meno. All right. So thank you very much, guys, for all your condolences. I really appreciate it. So I have lifelong friends, and this woman I'm going to introduce you to now. Look, I've known her since we were this small, probably smaller. This is my friend Celeste. She's the one pushing me. She's older than me by a few months. And Celeste has shared every part of my life. Our first day of school, there she is with our lunch boxes. She's shared my periods, my breakups, my pregnancies, my labors, deliveries, my sadness, my happiness, and now my menopause. And I want her to join me from Atillo, Puerto Rico. Hi, Cele.
Hi, Anna. I'm so happy to be here. You were my first friend ever, and the longest friendship I've had is with you. So I'm happy to be here. Always here with you. I'm so sorry about Tata. We've talked about it a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll be maybe happy / a little bit
mortified
wondering why we're talking about this together. But this is for her. And thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Cele, you write a blog that no one knew you wrote, because you kept it anonymous, in Spanish, called Me Llegó la Meno. Why did you start writing that blog?
Well, I created that blog and Facebook page because I started the symptoms of the menopause when I was too young. I was only 43 years old, and now we're both 47. And so I was feeling...
No. You're 47.
You're not
I'm
46. Right.
Calma. Atrevida.
Okay, just a couple of months. So I was feeling awful. I was sweating. I was having mood swings. I was hungry all the time. I couldn't just help myself, and I needed like a place to vent. And like just like you said, I'm really vocal about who I am. You know, I'm openly gay, and so this is the first time that I publicly talk about menopause, because only my closest friends knew that this page was mine.
Wait, and, this was harder than coming out of the closet?
Well, maybe, that was a long time ago. That was really hard, and you do remember. But yeah, I mean, I didn't tell almost anyone that the page is mine. I was trying to keep myself just out of it. I don't know why. So when you called me and, to make this program, I said, if I'm talking freely about the process, what's wrong about exposing myself? And so I decided to accept your invitation and to create a space for people just to talk about it freely, because sadly, people are afraid to talk about it. And so, it's been 2 years now. We have a couple of thousand followers with, the ups and downs of menopause and of, when you feel that you don't have anything to say. But I work with social media, and I've found this a place that I can talk about my experience and hear from other girls.
Celeste was 43. Celeste was 43, and we were shocked because our mothers never told us when they went through this. So you went and asked your mom, and you figured out that your mom, your sister, and your aunt all had it early.
Yes, my mom, my sister, and my aunt. And I've heard that's the same case for a couple of my peers. And so apparently it has something to do. I don't think your mom, did you ask your mom?
Oh yeah,
we had this conversation?
Mommy had a hysterectomy. And so mommy only had, and she was very open about her hysterectomy. And in my house, just like in yours, we would openly talk about periods. But mommy told me I can't really explain it because I didn't go through it fully. And her mother told her I was too busy to notice.
Well, you know what? I have good news. Most of my friends' mothers, they don't remember. Can you believe that? I mean, this is so hard, and we don't know if it's going to end and when it's going to end. And then my mom's friends, they don't remember. So we're going to forget about it. We're going to forget about all this hassle. And
let me tell you, that's how labor and delivery is. You forget about it. That's why you end up with kids. But I have to tell you, Celeste was at her top of her game. She is a marketing genius. She has a master's degree in social media. She's a professor at the university, belongs to a board of an insurance company. And it's very funny because the other woman, the other blogger I'm bringing in now, was also at the top of her game when this struck her. And I want to bring in Denise Paleothodoros to the game. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, Celeste again.
Goodness, I'm already sweating, girls.
I have the fan, the AC, and everything going on.
Oh my gosh. So Denise, when did this start for you, and why did you start blogging about it?
Yeah, great question. So I started entering perimenopause in my early 40s. I'd say like 40, 41. Yet I didn't know it. I had no idea. There isn't like this one, moment in time that you're like, oh, I'm in perimenopause. I mean, with a period, obvious, right? You're pregnant, obvious, but with this, the symptoms are very insidious, and they, like you said, 34. So there's lots of varying symptoms, but the one that was remarkable for me was the irregular periods. And I mean, it would be either you're going to get them in 2 weeks, or all of a sudden it's like 8 weeks. But, that was causing like a lot of emotions for me. Mm-hmm. And so I went to the doctor, and they said, yeah, it looks like you, maybe having a hormonal shift. And I said, is it menopause? And they're like, you're too young for menopause. Now, this is an OBGYN. And I was like, oh, okay, you're right. Because the Golden Girls were menopause. And I'm like, you're right. I don't, the gray hairs that come in yet. So you must be right. So they said, no, we're just going to adjust the thyroid. But then I continued to have like all these symptoms. I go to an endocrinologist. I go to a neurologist. Oh my gosh. Bottom line is I went through maybe like a 2-year runway where I was completely floating and confused. And the worst of the symptoms for me was definitely the cognitive function. And what happened? One of the symptoms includes memory loss, brain dysfunction. Like, it's very challenging. And so I wasn't able to find my words. I couldn't remember things. I did crazy stuff. I left my phone in the refrigerator. I went to work in like slippers, with a dress and slippers. I forgot to put my work shoes on.
Oh my gosh.
I've done lots of stuff like that. So, but anyway, the sign was the irregular period, like I said. And where it really hit me is I had a horrible episode at work, in a corporate office, in a big conference room, right after pitching a massive piece of business. And, I'm surrounded by all these decision makers. And it was the most embarrassing thing of my life. So it really kind of put me in a different space where I was losing my confidence, and I was feeling embarrassed, and I was wearing black all the time. So it took a really long time for me to figure it out. And then it got from there.
Celeste, what triggered you to write? You couldn't find support. You felt lonely in the route and the journey.
Well, I didn't feel lonely. I just thought that people needed to hear from me to see if I could motivate others to talk about it and support each other. That was kind of the trigger. The first symptom was I was driving to San Juan to visit my mom. I live like an hour away from San Juan, and suddenly I felt the heat in my thighs. So I thought that the heater from the car seats were on. But I didn't know. I was like, okay, let me turn this off. So what's wrong with me? But then the heat became something else, and it was more frequent. So I went to the doctor. He said the same thing you were saying, Denise. He said, you're too young. What's going on? So he scheduled some blood tests, and then I came back, and I remember the day he told me I couldn't stop crying in the car.
I know. I remember sad. You were really sad.
Yeah. I was sad. I remember when I had my period the first time, I cried too. I don't know if you cried with your mom, who is my godmother, but I started crying, and your body just begins to respond differently. And now I laugh. I don't know why I cried. I've seen that I'm not alone in the process. This page has helped me a lot, and I try to do the most I can. I still have trouble sleeping, and I've tried everything, but it's part of the process. I have learned to embrace it and just accept it as it is. And I talk to my friends all the time about it, even though they don't feel like they want to talk about it. Just because I want people to know that it's normal, and that you shouldn't be scared.
I know. I think to an extent, Denise, Cele was saying that she kept the anonymity because there were women who were like, why are you doing this? Why are you talking about this? Why did you decide to start writing about it, Denise? Especially with that connection with the workplace, because you posted on LinkedIn. You're kind of crazy. You went out there where you're supposed to be networking.
Right. Exactly right. So, before I get into that, the one thing I think we should clarify for everybody is the distinction between perimenopause and menopause. So menopause is something that you enter, and that's after you are no longer getting a period. And that's like the defining moment. And so, but the journey leading up to that could be anywhere from a few years to over a decade. And there is no definite time. So my perimenopause was about a 4.5-year journey until I hit menopause. I hit menopause 45 years old. And so I haven't had a period since.
What about you, Celeste?
I haven't had a period since I was, the first time, since I was 42. My doctor gave me a treatment to try to maintain, getting the period because I was too young. But, I've been without the period since I was 42.
Yeah.
So Denise, why did you want to write it? Go ahead.
Let's talk about that. So, well, first of all, it's because there was so much silence around it. The stigma was there. Nobody was talking about it. And, at the same time I'm going through this, I'm put under a lot of pressure in the workplace to perform and be on my A game. And I was off. I was having a hard time with my memory. I was having a hard time just like with my energy. It was very, very low. And I probably appeared to be disinterested, and that wasn't it at all. I just was really like suffering inside. When I was doing presentations, the hot flashes that would come on, it would completely embarrass me. I'd have heart palpitations, anxiety would set in. And so this was a very different environment for me. And I thought, okay, I was a co-lead of a women's leadership network, a global leadership network. And I'm thinking, here we spend so much time advocating for, women breaking the glass ceiling, women getting in the C-suite, rising to levels of CEO and companies. And the truth is, like, how is that possible when we're suffering through these symptoms for so long, so many years? And I'm a curious person. So I started doing research and finding that, wow, a lot of women leave the workplace because of menopause symptoms.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah. And so, we won't find the data here in the US, but in the UK, they have been so progressive in all of the research that they've been doing. And this is where I found a lot of the data. I also had seen a lot of the progress in terms of educating and giving women proper information. Where here in the US, I was following Facebook pages that were people that are talking like they're just like, I'm freaking out and I'm sweating. And then, I want to like suffocate my husband with a pillow.
Yeah.
Just enough, like not to kill him, but just to suffocate him. And it's like, I don't know, this is my community. This is not my community. I was like, it was making me even more anxious seeing how women were coming together and like just angry. So I found Empowered Women, which was a trusted resource with really like cool thought leaders, doctors, nutritionists, and it just really was the proper forum for me. And today I am now partnered with them. I am their US consultant, helping to grow the brand here in the US. And I mean, it's a journey. So
it's so funny because I think the three of us have the same personality trait that we're not afraid to talk about things and normalize them. And Denise was saying that the way that she found out that I was premenopausal is because I told Lou Manfredini, who is a guy's guy. Celeste, in Chicago, he's known as Mr. Fix-It. You'll see him on the Today Show. And we were doing a story on painting a room at Ace Hardware. And those are Denise's clients. And I said it out loud to Lou. Lou has a wife and 2 daughters. I don't understand why men freak out. And I remember my dad reacting to my period like, oh, I'm going to leave the room. And so imagine when the woman starts freaking out of them or sweating, like right now, my husband runs cold and I run hot, and that never happened here.
And you're in Chicago.
It was really funny when she just started talking about menopause in front of Lou, and Lou all of a sudden acted very busy. He was like really busy. I gotta make paint, and he was trying to distract himself. And I look up and I'm like, oh my God, who says menopause? Like this is the most silent topic. And then she's like, oh my God, my best friend, she's got a blog, she writes about it. And I was like, hey, me too. It was just this really nice moment where it was cool to just to find people who care about this and want to spread the word.
I want to put it out there. We have a lot of people making comments about when they got it, how they're feeling, but I want to put it out there. What do you think is missing in our society, at the workplace, at the household, that you would want to see to change this narrative so that we are, oh my God, there are cultures that when the girls get the period, celebrate. I think it's what the quinceañera is all about, that you go into this moment, except Celeste and my mother who told us, oh, sorry, girls, this sucks.
No quinceañera. Exacto. Not for us.
This is awful. Prepare for your cross to bear. But there are cultures that celebrate it, embrace it. My daughter has an app that lets us know when everything's happening. And the women 40 and older don't get any support. And then Denise sent me an article from the New York Times that I'll post here too, that said there's a void, like a vacuum. There are no doctors talking about it except for Dr. Stryker. There is no one is offering solutions. So let me start with you, Denise. What changes would you like to see?
A lot. So first off, the first thing that everyone needs to know, you got to go and see a doctor who is certified to counsel on menopause. Here in the US, there are a little over 1,000 clinicians across the country who are actually certified.
That's it?
And yes, and here's the problem. When because you go to the doctor for a symptom and they will treat the symptom. Nobody's telling you the cause. Once you understand that menopause is the cause, I promise you, it will save you literally thousands of dollars, because that's how much money I have spent chasing all my symptoms and trying to figure out what the heck is going on. I've seen so many doctors. I had my brain scanned because they thought maybe it's early dementia. You don't need to go through that. You need to know that this is the root cause. Your hormones are out of whack. I would suggest avoiding blood tests that tell you what your hormones are in the moment, because your hormones will spike 1 minute and then they're down another. So
that's what they did for me.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. They ran the hormones test.
And she's like, they look, but my gynecologist who used to work with Dr. Stryker said, they look normal, but you're over 40. This is it. I'm not going to look for anything else. Everything that's happening to you has a hormonal connection, and this has just started. And I was like, oh, thank you. Okay.
So, I mean, I feel like the more that we insist that our doctor is certified, the more certified doctors we'll get who actually get educated on this. So I think that's one change that focused on trying to see the expansion of that. The other one is I would like to see companies take an accountability to educating women who, they're grooming for senior leadership and need to understand that hormonal health is a really big part. And it's, it's not just, skills and everything else. It's about caring for you, self-care. And what does that mean? And recognizing the symptoms, and even going further, having empathy for it, like having empathy, being kind about it, and, just not judging people in their moments, but helping them. So I really think we need to go deep in corporate spaces. And I'm excited to say, like here in the US, I did a global session with Dr. Stryker. She and I partnered together and did what is considered to be the first US session on menopause in a corporation. And we had loads of people that, participated in this. But it's like that needs to be done every single year. More companies need to be doing it. And then I want to go one step further. Now, companies, market to us, talk to us, acknowledge what we're going through. You're going through the menopause. These are the kind of products that we offer for you, or offer products, so, I mean, there's so much opportunity in this. And like that Fast Company story that talked about perimenopause is now like a multi-billion-dollar market opportunity. You've got 6,000 women entering perimenopause every single day. You can't ignore this market. And millennials, they are not going to stand for the silence. They're just like,
oh, they're not silent.
No, they're not going to stand for. We did, Gen X, but I feel like our role with Gen X is to enlighten the millennials about this, start to talk about it, and let's just move this conversation forward. No more.
I think that the millennials have given us the empowerment, because the three of us were probably in spaces where you have the female news director, but she has no empathy, right? Or you have the female CEO, but she got there because she didn't get married. She has no social life and she acts like a guy, right? And she will tell you, shape up. No one needs to know you have your period, right? And I think millennials, for as much as we talk about them being coddled, said, no, you have to take this into consideration. And then people like us who have the experience in media, in marketing, have thought, okay, we got a voice and we're going to use it before we die.
We can't help. Generation, exactly. These generations are also very active on social media, and I'm pretty sure that gives me a lot of hope, because definitely I think education and information is needed for women, for their partners or their husbands or their wives. We've had men in the page comment, like desperately seeking how to vent because they can't stand the hot flashes of of his wife, of their wives. So I think what's needed is it's more conversation. It's companies taking a stand. You know, there's many brands. You work in marketing, so you know how companies can also take a stand and also begin to talk about it. I mean, not only feminine health companies, but there's a lot of opportunities there. And as long as people can see this as a normal process, you know, that's a good way to start. And, you know, seek professional help. You know, I've had a good friend, and she's here on the page on the transmission now, Roxana. She's a psychologist, so I invited her to the page to talk about something particular regarding menopause, because I'm not the source of information. I'm just sharing my own experience. I don't endorse or recommend any treatment. You know, I talk about what I do, but I ask everyone to seek help. You know, preferably so from an experienced healthcare provider.
I love this. Some of the suggestions are very funny. A walk-in freezer available to all women to walk in at any time.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Ivy says more education, more awareness. I'm going to go through these so that we can see. The U.S. totally doesn't get it, especially about HRT. What is HRT, Denise?
Hormone replacement therapy. And
what don't they get about that?
Okay, so it has become silent when it comes to marketing it, because there were studies a couple of decades ago that were showing a correlation to breast cancer. But now, like if you talk to Dr. Stryker, you know, who counseled me, you have to look at that studies were about women in their 60s. And also we didn't have like the data about the BRCA gene and the fact that, you know, that can be a factor. So women need to understand whether or not they're a good candidate for hormone replacement therapy. I am, and I can say it's been a lifesaver for me. And I go to the Northwestern Center for Menopause. That's Dr. Stryker created that place. And anyway, they are so good about screening for, you know, any risks, and really good at counseling what hormones right for you. But yeah, that hormone replacement therapy had put me on the right path.
Cele, you have pellets. What is that?
That's the same thing. It's a type of hormone replace therapy. Yeah, they've been a lifesaver for me too. You know, it has relieved most of my symptoms. I tried 2 different treatments before that weren't any good. They caused like anxiety and panic attacks, and, you know, I wanted to sleep all day and scream. And so that was up until around a year and a half ago when I started using the hormone replacement therapy.
I love this. More doctors accepting menopause, not negating your possible symptoms because you're too young for it. You both are the example of that. And you went to gynecologists.
Yeah,
exactly.
Women gynecologists saying, "Oh, it's okay, you're too young. We'll just change your thyroid."
Yeah.
Mary, Sweary Mary, who Celeste and Denise and I know who she is. Employers should give women time off every month, at least one day during regular periods. And then at menopause, you should be able to take time off when you need it. Amen.
So that's actually a policy that is introduced around the UK. Honestly, it is just.
We should move.
Yeah.
I'm going to read about it. Yeah. I mean,
we're going to have to move, Denise. We should move. The other day I had a coworker saying the US is the best country in the world. I'm like, we should rethink this. I love this. Go to a holistic doctor. Acupuncture was life-saving for Carmen.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Let's see. I don't know. More education on the topic is needed. Yeah. Let's see. Look for a functional medicine doctor. They can test your hormones and offer solutions that are not only pharmaceutical. One example is bioidentical hormones. Look for the Dutch test, which looks at hormones over a month or more to assess them, like Denise was saying, because the day I went to my gynecologist, my hormones were fine.
Yeah.
And then mine highlighted the estrogen levels, the testosterone levels. He's like, it's here, you know, it's menopause.
Yeah. So Ivy experienced the same and had endometrial ablation. Now I'm 52 going through a roller coaster. And Denise and I were talking, Cele, before you joined the conversation off air. My friend who went through chemotherapy who is much younger than me, is in menopause because to treat the leukemia, she was put in menopause immediately. And it was like, oh, what now? What do I do now? Imagine talking. She was diagnosed maybe at 36. She's 41 now, around 39, 38.
Yeah.
How is she doing now?
She's doing fine. But yeah, it was, it's something crazy because like HR management doesn't take the market into consideration. No.
No.
Right.
That's right.
Let's see.
This is like a roller coaster, you have good days and you have horrible days. And then when you're running out of hormones, you feel that, you start sweating again. And sometimes I say, I wish I could just go past this without anything. But, when it started to affect my daily life and my lifestyle and my relationships, I had to step up and do something about it.
Yeah.
To me, it's interesting that you both have written a blog and you both have had women saying, we don't need to talk about that.
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. It's private. Because it's private. Well, I've been told it's private. From a baby boomer, and exactly.
Some tips for cooling off. Maria, besides going into a freezer, I took baby washcloths, wet them, and put them in a freezer. These are great for night sweats. Splash them on your head, neck, or chest without dripping water.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Maria has tips today. She's
there you go. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this topic to light. Glad to hear I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Memory fog. Denise, talk about that book that you had by you that you love. I'm going to put the name right there.
The Double X Brain. Mm-hmm. So this was written by a woman at Cornell. She had discovered, she did a lot of research on Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's is a prevalent disease among women. And she had found that there was a hormone connection, and had a lot to do with when women are in menopause, become more susceptible to things like Alzheimer's. But she goes into depth about, why and how this happens and how it impacts our brain. But she has a lot of good prevention strategies as well. And she does recommend hormone replacement therapy too, in order to help stabilize the hormones so that they don't have a lasting impact on your cognitive function.
What options are available for someone who is not a candidate for hormone treatment? Do you guys know?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that you should look up and follow. But there are many good nutrition. There's a lot of good nutrition advice out there. There's herbs that are promoted. So there are options, and a lot of people talk about meditation. It's helped me, okay, but meditation being a really big one. So yeah, there's a lot of alternate therapies.
And then, of course, in Chicago, we have the blessing to have Dr. Lauren Stryker, who opened the Menopause Center at Northwestern. And I'm sure they have a website. I'll put this all in the description of our videos, and that article that Denise sent to me as well. Somebody said, I love this one because this is kind of like what my daughter told me when she got her period. Thank goodness I was able to discuss this with my mother. I told her, I don't want this. It can go back.
It's true.
See, and the pandemic has made it even worse.
Yeah.
Especially if you survived. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you survived indoors, during the pandemic with your relationship, of course, because we've been here, indoors for a while. You're good. We're two women here in the same household living, both going through menopause.
And has Evelyn gone through the same thing as you, or do you see a completely different journey with her?
It is the same thing. I mean, she's following my steps. She gets a little bit crankier maybe than I do, and the sweats are horrible for her, maybe even worse. But it's kind of the same thing, and we talk about it all the time. I mean,
good,
because we're just going through the same thing.
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead, Denise.
I was going to say one thing we didn't really, talk about significant and impacts men. The drops significantly. And, so you'll see a lot of concerns, from men thinking, she doesn't love me anymore, or she's not attracted to me anymore. So when you have this knowledge and you know how to discuss it, I think it opens up opening up that communication, I think, is a relationship saver. And then also there are a lot of products on the market that can help with that. But knowing and finding the right ones. So, I think that's a really important piece in how it impacts,
Absolutely. It's the first thing that my gynecologist asked. I'm sorry, Papi, I'm going to say this on the air. My dad's watching in Puerto Rico. The first thing the first thing she asked was, does it hurt after sex? Are you super dry? Are you feeling enough, libido? And, she was very aware of that would be kind of one of the first symptoms. Yeah. So, and your partner has to be informed about this, because communication is key in any relationship. And this is something that you're not making up. This is not, this is physical. This is happening to you, and it can happen for a year or it can happen for 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's here to stay for a couple of years. But yeah, your partner's support, I would say, is the most important thing. Particularly if you live with each other and have each other live in the same house and spend, 12, 15 hours together every day. So yeah. Communication is very important.
Yeah. And I would say my daughter too, she was a teenager going through hormonal changes and stuff. And it was so important for me to have those conversations with her. And she's like my biggest support. So
how old is she now?
She's 19.
Oh my God. And now she can be an advocate too.
She's starting. She is with her school. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
What was that blog? You have to send it to me that you wrote.
I have plenty.
The one about the big butt.
It's not even a big butt. It's dear men, I hope you don't think my ass is too big, on behalf of midlife women. So that was for men. But the one I wrote for the workplace was menopause at work. It's a mind fuck. That's what I put on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's the one you put. Well, LinkedIn is a social platform for businesses. So yeah, that's what
it was about work and menopause and the mind thing. And I thought, I got
congratulations for doing that.
I threw the F word in there. Threw the F word in there so it get read. Otherwise,
so it get read. Yeah, the same thing with the big ass, because it's a hook.
And it's totally unexpected to talk about it in LinkedIn. Totally. So yeah.
So both of you, where can people find your writing and your favorite resources when it comes to menopause? Denise, go ahead.
Empowered Women. So it's a UK-based media outlet, and you can find it on Instagram and Facebook. But it is definitely expanded here in the US. And then my writings are also posted on my LinkedIn, which is Denise Paleothodoros. So I write in both of those places. So
and Celeste?
In my case, we have a Facebook page, and it's called Me Llegó la Meno. How do you translate that, Ana? The meno is here.
I got the meno.
I got the meno, or it's here. The meno.
I got the meno.
The meno. So that's my fan page in Facebook, and also I try to read from different blogs and websites like the NHS. Back in the UK, they have good information. And I usually try to look for content that is not necessarily related to menopause. I try to bring some humor and try to share motivational messages. They do help a lot. So we have a nice dynamic in the page, and we try to keep it as informal as possible and just try to have fun with it.
Kind of like this Wednesday Whine. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for the invitation.
So fun.
And what a wonderful conversation. Denise, since you're here, we should continue this.
Right.
and get Dr. Stryker involved. She was my gynecologist when I first came to Chicago.
Yes.
And I loved her. And she left me because she was going to go into these topics. Yeah. She was done delivering babies, and she was going to focus on these topics. So we'll get together soon. Yeah. And thank you so much, Denise.
Yeah, thank you, Celeste. It was so
Thank you, Ana. Denise will be in touch.
Absolutely, both of you stay in touch.
Yeah, we will.
Bye, Cele. All right. So there you have it. I don't know who you need to share this conversation with, who you need to make aware of what's going on in your life. If you are perimenopausal, learn so much. Menopause is when you've already lost your period. Perimenopause is the journey to get there. And it's a long journey, but we're here for each other, right? That's what we do as humans, as in kind beings, and also as women. And so I just hope that this conversation was as wonderful for you as it was for me, and that the men who are watching were able to learn something today that will help you travel this journey with the women in your life as well. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and I'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.